We decided to focus on a gang that's historically, well established in the Rexdale neighborhood.
32 arrests and 158 criminal charges have been laid in a major interprovincial investigation as the police take on the Jamestown Crips in Toronto.
Good afternoon. 32 people are in custody, including a teen who's just 16 years old.
Guns, cocaine, and meth have been seized. CTV Sean Leathong is covering this story and joins us now live. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, the investigation dates back to September of 2023. Police focusing on the Jamestown Crips, as you mentioned, and also, as you mentioned, a surprisingly large number of arrests. 9 guns seized, 4.7 kilograms of cocaine, 6 kilograms of methamphetamine, and over $320,000 in cash. 32 people arrested and 158 charges laid. The result of Project Foxxx dating back to September of 2023.
We partnered with York Regional Police, Peel Regional Police Service, and the Ontario Provincial Police to disrupt the Jamestown Crips drug and firearm trafficking network.
According to police, the Jamestown Crips have been working along a corridor through the GTA and into the prairies, as well as on the East Coast, in some cases using Canada Post to distribute drugs.
Toronto gangs are not just a local problem. Their influence is no longer contained to specific streets or areas in our city.
Between April and July of 2024, officers executed 35 search warrants in Toronto, Hamilton, Vaughan, Brampton, Mississauga, Guelph, and even Thompson, Manitoba. This resulted in the arrest of 32 suspects.
Police saying this investigation has put a dent in the local network, but that gang itself continues to operate.
The 158 criminal charges laid include possession of a controlled substance for the purpose of trafficking, possession of a prohibited device, possession of proceeds of crime, trafficking, conspiracy, firearms offenses, tampering with a serial number, assault, participating in the activities of a criminal organization, and commission of an offense for a criminal organization.
Now, as police released today some of the charges these people are facing, as many as 10 and 11 charges. They also said there are 5 people still outstanding who they do expect to make arrests in the coming days. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan, Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. In other news, Barrie police are looking for help finding a missing boy.
He's been missing for just over 2 hours now. The boy's name is Corbin. He's 9 years old, and he wandered away from his house. Now, there's a search along a nearby trail system. Police have released these photos. Corbin was last seen at about 8 this morning in the Blake and Huron Street area of Barrie. He weighs 43 pounds and was wearing a hoodie, gray pants with a red stripe, and white Adidas running shoes. Anybody with any information is asked to call Barrie Police. Well, some major news to share with you this afternoon regarding the push to implement $10 a day childcare across Canada.
The province is moving ahead with changes to the way it's implementing the funding deal with Ottawa, promising relief for both parents and service providers. The province plans to switch up how it compensates childcare operators, as many say they're struggling to keep their doors open under the current fee structure. Right now, the government covers the amount of money parents are saving on reduced fees. Starting next year, they'll get a broader pool of funding based on factors like how many spaces they operate and where they're located. The average daily fee for a child under 6 has already dropped by about half to an average of $23 a day. This is since the program started. It will be lowered to $19 a day when these latest changes take effect. The $10 a day promise isn't set to be fully implemented until March of 2026.
Still to come this half hour, there are calls for Premier Ford to apologize for an offhand remark about health care. We'll have that story in about 10 minutes.
But first, time to take a peek outside. We have another sunny day on tap with no showers to be seen, at least for today. And it's certainly warm out there. Quintessential summer conditions. Let's get to CTV Jessica Smith for all we need to know weather-wise. Jess.
Another beautiful day, as you mentioned. High pressure really doing its job, but that changes as we head into the day tomorrow. And then we're looking at a few days of rain, so the potential of localized flooding is definitely there. But for now, sunshine, and we're looking at a really light kind of wind and making it comfortable to be outside as we get our day going. We're sitting in that mid-20 range again, feeling into the low 30s. As temperatures are set to drop a little heading into the weekend, we are still holding on to a ton of humidity. Winds right now pretty light coming out of the south, and as we head into the rest of the day, we're on to a steady climb into the upper 20s. Coming up, your full forecast. Right now, back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. We're following reports out of Hollywood this afternoon outlining shocking revelations in the death of actor Matthew Perry.
Multiple U.S. reports say authorities have made an arrest in connection with the Friends star's fatal overdose. The 54-year-old Canadian actor was found dead in a pool in Los Angeles on October 28th of last year. The L.A. County Medical Examiner's Office ruled his death was linked to the acute effects of ketamine he had consumed. Now, the coroner ruled his death an accident, but police have been investigating how Perry got a hold of the substance. Authorities are expected to share more details about the reported arrest today. The U.S. East Coast is bracing for the wrath of Ernesto. The storm's already pummeled Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
And flood watches and warnings have already been issued as the system gains steam and tracks northward. CTV's Joy Malbin reports.
From a tropical storm to a hurricane, Ernesto has brought more pain to Puerto Rico, pounding the island with torrential rain and wind. Floodwater raging over highways, cars swept away, half the island on this U.S. territory now without power. 23 hospitals operating on generators as officials warn the danger isn't over yet.
Stay away from the coastal areas, stay safe at home or wherever you are staying in the case of tourists, and keep an eye on the reports of the National Weather Bureau because, as I said, we're still under a watch for a tropical storm.
Schools and government offices closed, about 100 flights canceled to and from the island, from downed power poles, debris and fallen tree branches. Many here still remember the impact of Hurricane Maria 7 years ago. The island's power grid was decimated. After first slamming the Caribbean islands, unmooring this cargo ship in St. Martin,
the bad news is that we are in the northeastern quadrant of the storm, so we are expecting that we will see the wind.
Ernesto is expected to gain strength in the warm Atlantic water, threatening Bermuda as a more powerful hurricane on Saturday. Forecasters warning of riptides and strong wind along America's east coast before the storm tracks north to Canada.
But we want to raise the alarm bells here across Atlantic Canada. This can be a big storm with significant life-threatening impacts into early next week, and certainly the risk for widespread power outages.
U.S. President Joe Biden approved an emergency declaration for Puerto Rico, making disaster assistance available to the island in what has already been an early and intense hurricane season. Joy Malbin, CTV News.
The Canadian government is now responding to a declaration by the World Health Organization that Mpox is a global health emergency.
Africa is considered the hotspot for the virus, formerly known as monkeypox. The Public Health Agency of Canada says there have been no cases of the new strain of Mpox in Canada yet. And while the risk to people in Canada remains low, the government is closely monitoring the Mpox situation in the DRC and neighboring countries. The government says it has secured a sufficient supply of Mpox vaccines to support programs for the prevention and control of Mpox in Canada. The statement comes in the wake of a spike in the number of cases in Toronto. CTV's Heather Wright has the details.
17,000 cases of Mpox and 517 deaths have been reported in Africa this year alone, a 160% increase compared to last year. It's a spike that has prompted an emergency declaration from the World Health Organization.
It's clear that a coordinated international response is essential to stop these outbreaks and save lives.
Officials say a new variant of the virus appears to spread more easily, and what started as an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo has spread to more than a dozen neighboring countries. Mpox spreads through close physical contact, causing flu-like symptoms and pus-filled lesions on the body. In Canada, Mpox cases have also increased, though to a much smaller degree than in Africa. Toronto Public Health says as of July 31st, there have been 93 reported cases, up from 21 last year.
In 2022, the epicenter was largely in Montreal. Now it seems to be in Toronto.
Experts say those most at risk in Canada are men who have sex with other men and sex workers.
I think that has led to the misconception by some people that it's a sexually transmitted infection, which is not true. It does appear to spread regardless of the contact. It's just that by chance, to a certain degree, it seems to have embedded itself within this community.
There is an effective vaccine for Mpox, and those most at risk are encouraged to get vaccinated. Experts are also urging governments around the world, including Canada, to move quickly to get vaccines to those who need it most.
I know there's logistical hurdles and regulatory hurdles, but it's been 2 years and there's still very limited access to these products in areas that are hardest hit.
Health Canada says it has a sufficient supply of Mpox vaccines, and a potential donation is one thing the government is considering. Though they add at this point no formal request has been made. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
And we bring in infectious diseases specialist Dr. Isaac Bogosh live this time. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. I'd love to get your take, given the WHO declaration and the spike of Mpox cases in Toronto. How concerned are you right now?
You know, it's something that I think needs to be watched very closely, not just on a global level, but even here in Canada. As was mentioned in the prior report, the epidemic in Canada is almost exclusively in the men who have sex with men community. And again, said with no moralization and no stigmatization and no value judgment. It's just important to note who's impacted so that there can be a targeted public health response. And there is. You know, the vaccine rollout and the communications has been very, very targeted in Canada because that community is disproportionately impacted.
Why do you think we're seeing this spike in Toronto?
You know, I think it's August. It follows Pride Month. There were probably, you know, a lot of close contact and exposures during Pride Month. It also brings lots of people into the city as well. So you know, I think it would most likely be related to that. But I think it's important that we keep an open mind as well, that there might be other factors involved as well.
Certainly, as mentioned in the report, I mean, there is a vaccine. There's a lot we can do with regards to this. What should Canada and other Western nations be doing right now, and given this declaration by the WHO?
Yeah, there's two things, thinking locally and then thinking globally. While we think locally, I think it's extremely important that we care for the population that is disproportionately impacted by this, and that means lowering barriers, reducing stigma, and ensuring anyone who has risk factors for Mpox has access to the vaccine. And really in Canada, that's sex workers and men who have sex with men who are having multiple sexual partners. Pretty straightforward. Globally, it's a little more challenging because a lot of these countries that are seeing a significant rise in cases don't have the same diagnostic capacity, healthcare capacity, public health capacity that we do. And it's really important that we help coordinate and facilitate and work with the countries impacted to see, A, what are their needs and wants, and B, listening to them and facilitating that. If that means they want some of our vaccines, great, they can have them. Of course, there's regulatory and logistical hurdles that need to be overcome. But I think with this declaration, you're going to see a much more coordinated international effort. And that's obviously a smart approach.
Doctor, do you also think there's just straight up vaccine fatigue given the pandemic and all the rounds of COVID vaccine that people took, that they're just not thinking about this sort of thing?
So here's a total biased answer, and I appreciate that if you line up 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers here. But I think in Canada, among the men who have sex with men community, there was tremendous leadership at the community level, and they did an incredible job in getting the word out, in telling and talking to people and listening to people, in getting these vaccine clinics into areas where men who have sex with men who have risk factors for Mpox would be comfortable in going, and lowering stigma. And again, my bias, I don't have data to back this up, but I think the uptake of vaccine was pretty good. And I think it continues to be when people are aware if they have risk factors. But again, I can't point to data to drive that. That's just my observation and experience. And certainly I care for patients with this infection, and I care for patients who are readily accepting the vaccine if they have risk factors.
Well, that is good to hear. And you right now are getting the word out. Dr. Isaac Bogosh, great to pick your brain on this. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too.
Fierce fighting is continuing in western Russia as Ukraine's military's incursion shows no signs of stopping. Russia's defense ministry claimed it had killed hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk over the last day and reclaimed a number of settlements in the region. Ukraine, for its part, revealed it was planning to open a military office in the parts of Russia it currently holds. Thousands of Russians have fled border areas as Ukraine claims to hold over 1,100 square kilometers of territory, which it says it doesn't want to keep. Kyiv stunned Moscow with the military incursion as Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues.
As indirect ceasefire and hostage exchange talks take place in Qatar, the Israeli military is keeping up strikes in the Gaza Strip. The IDF says it is continuing operations in the Rafah area where they had uncovered a tunnel shaft. Operations are also continuing in Khan Yunis and in the central Gaza Strip. This comes as the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry says more than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed since October 7th. The 10-month war was sparked by Hamas's attack on Israel that day that killed nearly 1,200 people and saw hundreds of hostages taken to Gaza.
To the U.S. now, where both leading presidential candidates are hitting the trail today. But last night, Donald Trump held what was billed as a major economic speech, and he took shots at his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris.
What happened to her laugh? I haven't heard that laugh in about a week. That's why they keep her off the stage. That's why she's disappeared. That's the laugh of a crazy person, I will tell you, if you haven't known it. It's a crazy. She's crazy. You know why she hasn't done an interview? Because she's not smart. She's not intelligent. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Go. Get out of here.
This comes as CNN reports Trump has requested that a New York judge delay his sentencing on 34 felony counts in his hush money trial until after the November election. For her part today, the vice president is expected to join U.S. President Joe Biden in announcing a new milestone in lowering prescription drug costs. This will mark their first official appearance together since Biden left the 2024 race.
Opposition politicians are demanding an apology from Premier Ford after a joke about sending patients waiting for MRIs and CT scans to a vet clinic.
Ford made the remark at the opening of a new facility in King City on Tuesday. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the story.
It was while celebrating the opening of a state-of-the-art animal hospital in King City yesterday that the Premier made the remark, joking that the massive new veterinary clinic could ease the burden on Ontario's human healthcare system.
By the looks of it, we know where we can send the overflow patients now for MRIs and CAT scans and everything else, so keep an extra room for some other patients.
But the Liberals were outraged, insisting that healthcare wait times in this province is no laughing matter.
Nearly 10,000 people died while waiting for MRIs and CT scans last year alone under the watch of Doug Ford. So against that backdrop, you don't joke that the hundreds of thousands of people who are still on the waiting list line up like animals at a veterinary clinic.
NDP leader Marit Stiles piled on, writing in a post, quote, "Remember, this is part of the plan. Doug Ford and his politicians are dismantling our healthcare system and giving it over to folks like Galen Weston to make billions off. It's all a giant inside deal, corrupt."
It's like sometimes Doug Ford forgets when he criticizes our healthcare system or our schools that Doug Ford is the guy in charge of our healthcare system and our schools. So this is going to bring a predictable political pushback. Doug Ford should have known better. He should have seen it coming. Too loose, too glib, too summer chill.
Some responded with humor of their own, like this emergency physician.
Hi, yeah, King Animal Hospital. Hi, Dr. Vanukabal here. Look, Premier Ford today announced that if we've got overflow patients, for imaging, we could send them up there for a CT and MRI. I've got Bobby, he needs a CT of his head.
The Premier's office telling CTV News in response, quote, "Our government made record investments in our publicly funded healthcare system, increasing the healthcare budget by over 31% since 2018 and investing over $85 billion this year alone." The Liberals, though, say healthcare is failing under Ford.
He needs to apologize.
And that there's nothing funny about that. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
As the RCMP investigation into the Greenbelt scandal intensifies, the province says it has nothing to hide.
The opposition, meanwhile, says if there are any further allegations of wrongdoing to be revealed, the Premier should speak up now.
People of Ontario deserve better than that. And I do want to say as well that we've heard the Premier and the Finance Minister say that they're an open book. Well, what the people of Ontario would like to know is, you can't say you're an open book and tear out all the chapters you don't want us to read.
Premier Doug Ford's office confirmed last week that witnesses linked to the government were being interviewed by the RCMP in connection with the now scrapped land swap plan. He said he wants, quote, full cooperation with investigators, adding, let's get on with it.
A child's been seriously injured after being struck by a vehicle in Brampton. The 12-year-old was riding a bike at the time. It happened shortly after 6 last night on Kennedy Road in Brampton between Sandalwood Parkway and Beauvert. The child was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The driver remained at the scene, and police are still investigating.
There's a new tool in the fight against head injuries in professional football. It's called a guardian cap, basically an oversized protective headgear.
It's becoming more popular thanks to some high-profile players. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has the details.
Guardian caps are bulky, heavily padded, and designed to minimize the impact of dangerous head contact that can cause concussions and other serious injuries.
They're a little bit heavier than our normal helmets, but I don't mind them. You get used to it after a couple of days, and it takes the initial pop out of the hits.
This neurosurgeon says Guardian caps signal a shift towards stricter player safety standards.
And the technology with the soft outer shell and the hard inner core is, from a physics perspective, makes sense. And the NFL has reported that there's a reduction in concussions.
Protective coverings for helmets are now being worn by football players at all levels across North America.
I think everybody's aligned to make the sport safer, including the players, the owners, the administrators.
Players in the CFL and NFL have a green light to wear Guardian caps in games, but up until now, for the most part, they've only been worn during training camps and practices.
Catch made, Mo.
5 Indianapolis Colts players wore Guardian caps in a recent NFL preseason game. TSN's Dave Naylor expects that trend to grow in the future.
If you're going to see a trickle-down effect to other levels of football, I think it would logically start at the NFL level.
University football player Isaiah Okoli is open to the notion of wearing his Guardian cap in future games.
With the way the world's moving and, everything that's going on, I could definitely see the pads being an everyday thing.
Okoli says Guardian caps are strange looking at first glance, but if they reduce his chances of getting a concussion, he's happy to wear one. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
And Dr. Carmela Tartaglia is a neurologist and researcher at the University Health Network in Toronto and the Canadian Concussion Centre, and joins us now live. Thanks for joining us. Anything to protect athletes, of course, is a good thing. How much of a difference do these helmets make?
Well, we actually don't know. There's some anecdotal evidence, but that is not the same as actually, a trial where you would have people without, people with. You run it for a certain amount of time, and then you say, yes, if you have this. The other thing that is of concern is that there's now a lot of evidence that even subconcussive impacts can have an effect. So we don't really think that just patting the head more and continuing to have all this contact is actually going to protect against that. So I do worry that sometimes when people are wearing more protective gear, they actually will take more risk because they feel like, they're more protected. We actually don't really understand what is the pathophysiology, like what happens during a concussion. There's many theories, and we do think something happens to the brain. We're actually pretty certain something happens to the brain. So we're not sure how this cap will actually reduce the long-term effects that we're concerned about when people have repetitive head injury, even when they don't have a concussion.
So when it comes to those caps, can studies be done, or is it something that you simply have to observe based on use?
No, I think studies can be done. You have people wearing these caps for a few seasons and then see. But the concern is not that, you can say, okay, well, they've had less concussions, okay, less reported concussions. That you can probably see at the end of a season. If people are, similar, people are playing the game, one group will say maybe they report more concussions than the other, and then you could say, yeah, it does that. But the question is not just to, reduce the number of concussions. The question is that these repetitive head injury have a long-term effect. Like, this is one of the things that we're concerned about, and this cap will not reduce the number of repetitive head injuries. So, it might be that the outcome is, okay, I'm going to reduce the amount of concussions in the sense of the physical symptoms that a person feels. You hit your head and then you have like that dizziness or the headache or everything. You can say, okay, that you will be able to see. But to see the long-term effects of repetitive head injuries, to see if these Guardian caps can actually reduce that, that will take years and years and years to see that.
All right.
So it's a long-term study.
All right, that's what it sounds like. Dr. Carmela Chittaglia with the University Health Network and the Canadian Concussion Center. Appreciate your thoughts and your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, some other news now. NASA has pushed back the deadline again to decide when to bring 2 American astronauts home. Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore's 8-day mission to the International Space Station has lasted for more than 2 months now, and that's due to technical problems with the Boeing Starliner that brought them to the station. If those troubles persist, they won't be able to hitch a ride until February with SpaceX. Meantime, NASA's revealed stunning time-lapse video of the Aurora Borealis from the International Space Station, also known as the Northern Lights. Amid heightened security, Taylor Swift will return to the stage in London tonight, playing her first show since a foiled terror plot canceled her Vienna shows.
Fans arriving at Wembley Stadium say they're feeling safe as extra security measures are in place.
I'm so excited. The energy here at Wembley Stadium is amazing. It's a good day so far, and it's really exciting to be here. There are Wembley staff members everywhere. You can see them communicating with each other, all being really friendly and accommodating. So it is good to feel safe here.
However, fans at Wembley Stadium will notice a few differences tonight. For one thing, tailgating, as it's called, in which fans gather outside concert venues without tickets, is not permitted here. Everyone entering the stadium will pass through a metal detector.
We're looking at a beautiful day ahead of us as we near the end of the week. So if you wanted to get out, maybe go to one of the beaches, it's a good day and you're in luck because I think they're all open from west to central. We're looking at the green light for all of them. So if you want to get out and enjoy a beach day across the city, it is a fantastic day to do so. But a reminder, sun protection and hydration are key. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast as we near the end of the week and we look ahead to some rain.
One of the city's biggest attractions is marking a milestone.
The Toronto Zoo is turning 50 years old, and it's holding celebrations throughout the day.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The zoo says guests who come by today will be able to enjoy animal enrichment activities, free carousel rides, and prize giveaways. Toronto Zoo CEO Dolph DeYoung said today it was an opportunity to look back at all the work the facility has done to save species at risk and all the work that's still to come. All right, let's talk about the forecast. If you're heading to the zoo or any outdoor activity today, this is maybe the hottest day of the week.
I think it's a great day to head to the zoo. I mean, they have this kind of splash pad water park area, which will definitely be good today because it does get hot if you're out in the sun for hours and hours and hours. But this is beautiful summer weather.
We're holding on to it for one more day. It does stay nice temperature-wise into the weekend, but we're watching a system moving in set to bring the potential of some significant rain across southern Ontario, and that includes us here in the GTA. So Michelle and Nathan are right. Get out today, enjoy it, but you got to do it safely. Weather is brought to you by the Prezzer Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Brilliant sunshine, though, to get our day started, and we're looking at this really holding on as we head throughout the majority of our day. A little more cloud cover this afternoon, but you know what? It'll be nice. And even on a cloudier day in the summer, you still have to protect yourself the same way. The UV rays are pretty strong today, sitting at about a 7. Temperature-wise, It's nice. We're looking at 27 right now. It feels like 30, and as we head throughout the day, we'll see that daytime heating take place, and we're looking at temperatures at or just above the seasonal mark for a good portion of the province. Now, into the afternoon, we'll sit at about 29. It'll feel like 32, so that just kind of sweet spot when it comes to humidity. Not too much, not too little. Some pop-up showers, though, further east. Into this evening, a beautiful night ahead of us. We're looking at 19, should be at 16. It's that little bit warmer out there, so maybe a little challenging for sleeping, but the further east you go, we're a little below seasonal, and then we're holding on at seasonal for the most part into that southwestern corner. High pressure is still the dominant system today, but there is that low that we are watching pushing its way in across the Great Lakes as we head throughout the rest of our day today into the day tomorrow, and then that's what's going to bring kind of a few rounds of rain. We're not looking at a wash by any means tomorrow, Saturday, or Sunday, but a good idea to keep your umbrella handy. As we head throughout the rest of our Thursday, lots of sunshine right through to about 6 p.m. The cloud cover is kind of coming in first. It's on kind of the leading edge of the system, and then the rain moves in as we head through the overnight and into the day on Friday. Now, we start off Friday. It's a little cloudy out there, but it's dry for the commute for a lot of folks. It's really not until the afternoon where it kind of pushes its way heavier in towards areas through London, over towards Hamilton. And for the city of Toronto and the GTA, a lot of this comes in kind of in the dinner hour and then carries through a few different waves off and on overnight. Saturday starts off not too bad, but we are looking at pop-up showers off and on throughout the day. So if you're heading to any of the numerous events, including the CNE, the King's Plate is this weekend, there's lots happening. Just keep the umbrella handy or some of the rain gear. Temperature-wise, above seasonal today, and then as we get in towards the next few days, we do dip a little below the seasonal mark. Not by much, but the humidity becomes more of an issue. So the difference between the rain this weekend is the heat is sticking around. So as we step into our Friday, again, those showers are late in the day. The humidex is not too bad, but as we head through our Saturday and Sunday with scattered showers, it's going to feel a little bit muggy out there. But as we head in towards next week, it clears up and the sun comes out eventually. Michelle, I'll send things back over to you.
That's good to know. Thank you, Jess. Well, we've had a lot of rain and warm weather this summer, but is it too much of a good thing?
Farmers do appreciate a good rainfall, but too much can drown out the crops. CTV's Dylan Dyson reports.
The garlic, for some reason, is a little smaller than average this year.
For local farmer Dan Sheedy, it has been a hot summer for him and his tomatoes.
If you take tomatoes, for example, these guys, the ideal growing temperature for them apparently is 27 degrees.
After higher than average temperatures were predicted for this summer, local farmers say this year's high heat and humidity are taking a toll on crops.
Ideally, a little drier, less humid at least, would be better. When it gets hotter than that, they tend to regress.
It has also been a summer of heavy and intense rainfall, washing out the crops of many growers.
I noticed so many things aren't doing well, and I started noticing, I think it's nitrogen deficiency. So because of the heavy rains, the nitrogen, the fertilizer leached out or ran off the hill, and things have suffered that way.
While produce like beans and potatoes survived excessive rain, leafy greens have not fared as well.
The quantity will be down in some, like the cabbage is definitely just not ripening and the head's half size. The broccoli, earlier I needed 4 to make the size of a head. So.
Regular customers none the wiser when shopping this year's crop.
Actually, I think they're good this year because of the moisture. I find that there's more flavor to them. They're not as dry.
This year's tropical weather proving itself useful for one crop on Sheedy's farm, cantaloupes.
For a cantaloupe grown in this area, that's a big cantaloupe. I think they like it really hot for a really long time.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News, Pembroke.
Produce looks delicious. Coming up, we'll meet the top scholars from the TDSB and we'll answer the question, just how many hours of homework did they have to put in?
We are meeting the top students from the Toronto District School Board for the past school year.
They've been honored for their exceptional grades. CTV's Janice Golding has the details.
Toronto's a TDSB top scholar, which means they have the highest marks overall in grade 12.
Some special recognition for some very special TDSB students.
Honestly, I do think that anyone is capable of achieving these marks as long as we put in the work.
These young women, the top 3 students graduating from grade 12 this year, all achieving in the upper 99% range. Still, as they explain, it takes a lot of hard work at times.
So I remember every day I'd come home, spend maybe like 4 hours on homework, get a few hours sleep, wake up sometimes like 6 in the morning, study a bit more if I had a test, and then, go to school.
Before the exams, I was studying around like 8-10 hours a day. But before that, it was pretty balanced. I would say 1 to 2 hours a day.
Maybe somewhere between 2 and 4, unless it was like really special circumstances.
Alina Tabrizi's parents, who are both doctors in their native Iran, say they only arrived in Canada 4 years ago and never expected their daughter to do so well.
Like, we are trying to get back to practice here, but when we came to Canada, I couldn't imagine that she can doing so much.
Meanwhile, Emma Bridgelal Nakahara's parents had a lot of praise for virtual schooling.
Every parent wants their child to flourish, right? So virtual school gave Emma that opportunity, and virtual school has grown up a lot. I think some of us started seeing it during the pandemic when everyone was just trying to figure things out, but now the teachers are amazing.
The TDSB Sherry Schwartz-Malt says this is always her favorite call to make of the year.
In the case of one of our TDSB top scholars this time, the father, when I called him, he broke down crying, and I was crying.
And these ladies' elated parents say they're very encouraged about the future.
We are not worrying about her future. You will know that she will achieve whatever she thinks for, and she will be successful in the future.
So what do these teens have planned next?
I really do want to become a doctor.
So I do want to pursue finance in the future.
And I want to study conservation, public policy, and creative writing.
Lofty goals, but if these teens have proven anything, they're high achievers who aren't afraid of putting in the work. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Congrats on all your hard work. Well, we all know how busy the roads are in the GTA, and it can be stressful for teenagers and anyone else learning to drive.
That's right. Car crashes remain the leading cause of death for teenagers, so choosing a vehicle to keep them safe is an important consideration. CTV's Pat Foran has the details.
When your teen starts to drive, as Jackie Ferrara knows, choosing the right car is key.
Safety features such as the automatic braking system and blind spot detectors are there to make sure that not only he's safe, but everybody else on the road as well.
A good car for me would be something that's reliable, has high safety features, that's a comfortable drive.
And that's important because teenagers are among the riskiest drivers with crash rates that are almost 4 times those of drivers 20 and older.
Because young drivers are at such a high risk, buy a car with as much safety as your budget allows.
Many of the newer safety options have been around for 5 years or more, so even if you buy a used car, chances are you'll get some features that will keep you safer behind the wheel. Consumer Reports and the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety identified used cars for around $20,000 that are considered safe and reliable, including the Honda Civic sedan or hatchback, 2021 or newer, the Toyota Corolla 2017 or newer, and the Hyundai Tucson 2020 or newer.
Luckily, cars continue to get safer, and prices in both the new and used car market have stabilized, so we've been able to point families to even better options this year.
Researchers say proven safety features like forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, and blind spot detection are worth considering.
Teen drivers' first car should be a balance. Not too big, not too small, and definitely not too fast.
Did you check your mirrors?
And as Jackie did, have a conversation with your teen before they get behind the wheel.
Making sure that we're focused on the road, limiting the distractions such as music and the amount of people in the car. Good job.
Taking these steps can help keep you and others on the road out of harm's way. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News.
We have more now on our breaking news this hour with Barrie Police looking for help finding a missing boy. Our CTV News chopper, as you can see, is live over the scene. This is in the Blake Street and Huron Street area of Barrie. The boy's name is Corbin. He's been missing since 10 a.m. There's a trail system nearby, and Corbin was last seen about 2.5 hours ago. Police say he wandered from home. Police have released these photos of him. Corbin is 9 years old. Once again, he was wearing a camo hoodie, gray pants with a race stripe, and white Adidas running shoes. Anyone with information is asked to call Barrie Police. We turn to other news now. In the return to the classroom, it is just around the corner. Back to school shopping for some people has already started.
And this year, the trend is to do it in person. Here's CTV's Natalie Van Roy.
Derek Smith is starting to get everything ready before his daughters head back to school.
We just got to get some clothes, backpacks, lunch stuff, things like that. Our lunch stuff.
He prefers to do his shopping in person rather than online.
In person's best for fit the clothes on the kids. They get to see what they want, styles, colors, that kind of stuff. You get it online, it looks so different when it comes in the mail.
And that's the trend this year right across the country. The Retail Council of Canada says 3 out of 4 consumers will shop in store for back to school rather than online. A big change in behavior from the pandemic era when 40% opted to go online.
Online e-commerce sales are still growing, but still the vast majority of sales in retail are done at the store level. It's still well over 80 to 85%, depending on the category.
Retail experts say there's a variety of reasons for the post-pandemic shift.
Some companies have become more strict with online returns. That may be a situation where, some consumers just don't want to deal with that in September.
But there are still some who prefer to log on to shop.
I like to shop online because they have way more things to buy.
Especially if you have kids. Just online, order your stuff online, gets delivered to your house and hassle-free.
Natalie Van Roy, CTV News, Ottawa.
National real estate figures show a slowdown in home sales last month, but experts don't think that will last. The Canadian Real Estate Association says home sales were down 0.7% last month compared to June. June had seen a bit more momentum due to a long-awaited interest rate cut by the Bank of Canada. There was another cut last month, and there are more expected this year. As a result, the CREA says prospective home buyers are likely to finally enter the market in the coming months as demand remains high.
Are you hoping the warm weather is about to end? For some, their spine tingles for the haunted season, Halloween.
We're talking Halloween right now. We're still in the summer, but believe it or not, people and shops are eerily prepared. It's Summerween, apparently. CTV's Tyler Fleming explains.
Are you horrified as fall creeps near? Children, does the classroom haunt your dreams?
Oh, no, I don't. We don't do back to school. We do Halloween.
Which is a mere 77 nightmares away. So do what Kate Kimber and her little ghoul Dawson do. Bury September.
It is October.
And this is no hocus pocus. Even under summer's cauldron of heat, many have October 31st on their mind.
We were just looking at the different costumes and that because we're preparing. Hello.
Hello. And at Party Mart in Canada, along with a boneyard worth of products, sales have been steady as many stake out their supplies.
I haven't decided what I'm dressing up as, but he wants to be a tractor.
Beep, beep. Sisters Abby and Sawyer will lurk this weekend for candy.
At my campground.
A Summerween party. And their costumes?
Vampire. I'm gonna be Taylor Swift.
Well, there's no doubt there's definitely a Halloween creep upon us, but there's gotta be a reason for it.
Summer what?
Summerween! It's a trend on TikTok.
And it's spawning demand.
So this has become sort of a trend with certain segments of the population, and retailers are capitalizing on that.
Take Home Depot's massive 12-foot skeleton. After its viral popularity, the store is now offering pre-sales of other giants too.
Give him a high five.
Of course, there's other unnerving reasons.
Because we love Halloween.
And what a treat it is.
Happy Summerween!
Tyler Fleming, CTV News.
Well, we have some good news to share with you right now. 9-year-old Corbin, the boy who was missing in Barrie, has now been found. We just received word from Barrie Police. The search is over.
Well, some other news now. India is celebrating its Independence Day today, and there was a special ceremony in Brampton to mark the occasion. A flag raising was held at Brampton City Hall with dozens of Indo-Canadian associations taking part in the celebrations. Mayor Patrick Brown talked about the contributions the Indian community has made to the city, saying he felt it was important to be there this morning.
In a world where there is division, what I see in Brampton is that neighbors respect neighbors. Communities appreciate each other. And we need to do more to make sure we realize we all have more in common than what differentiates us. And the way to build harmony is to celebrate each other, to be at our flag raisings, to learn about our paths.
Overseas in New Delhi, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi led celebrations of the country's 78th Independence Day.
Researchers have made a new discovery about the origins of one of the world's oldest and most iconic landmarks. A new study published in the journal Nature says the stone lying flat at the center of Stonehenge originally came from a sandstone quarry near the tip of northeast Scotland. It's unclear whether the 4.8-meter slab was carried by boat or on land, a journey of more than 740 kilometers. For more than a century, it was believed Stonehenge's altar stone came from Wales. The many phases of this building site began around 5,000 years ago.
Pretty amazing. We're always learning something new.
What are we learning weather-wise?
It's another beautiful day. Get out and enjoy it if you can, because things are changing. It still stays quite nice temperature-wise into the weekend, but things are going to get a little soggy. We're looking at a low pushing its way in, set to bring scattered showers off and on from Friday afternoon all the way into the end of the weekend. Not a wash, rain all day, every day, but pockets of it. It's warm right now, but it gets hotter as we head into the afternoon. Put that sunscreen on, drink lots of water, and enjoy the summer weather.
Good advice. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a good afternoon.